Hi folks, it's Zach, and welcome to part 1 of my Jedi Knight walkthrough of the Knights of the Fallen Empire storyline. Really quick before I start, I do want to make one quick note. If you are jumping into the story, no matter if you have a token and you jump straight to 60, or if you are a level player who went through the leveling process to get to 60, or whatever level you're at to start the story, once you click start on this chapter, whether that be through your play menu or if you automatically have it happen because of your character creation or you start it up through your ship, whatever you do, you will not have access to whatever companions you have until chapter 10, and you can start reacquiring them again. So if there's anything that you needed to do, if you're a leveling player who leveled from 1 to 60, if there's any conversations they need to do, if there's any side quests you need to complete, if there was any gifting that you wanted to finish up on that character, do it now before you start this chapter, because you won't be able to see these guys until you power through to chapter 10. If you are a new player, then as soon as you create your character, you're going to jump right into the story anyway, so you don't really have to worry so much about this. So let's go ahead and get this baby rolling. Don't forget, guys, you will get a little warning from the game like, hey, here are all the things to avoid or watch out for, etc. I'm just going to go ahead and continue through it, and we're going to launch and start this puppy up. So, if you watched my original video series, I was still learning Bandicam at the time, so I did make some errors and I did have some mistakes, and I did kind of suffer through some of the chapters, which is why I never completed it. So now I'm coming back with a new Jedi Guardian to go ahead and try to finish that video series up. I will tell you guys that if you're doing this for the first time, I would recommend that the Jedi Knight is probably the most canon story you're going to find for the game, and to start Knights of the Fallen Empire, you're going to feel like that this one's probably the closest one to what feels like the most canon story. Everything that's happened to the Jedi Knight up to this point feels like it leads you into this moment. Now, if you haven't played the full game on any character class before, if you just jumped to level 60, each character class has its own unique storyline that takes it through the universe, and you accomplish some pretty mighty things. It's a really great feeling to feel like your character had an impact on the overall shaping of the universe. But that being said, they all do different things. The Jedi Knight storyline really focuses around the Sith Emperor, the leader of the Sith Empire for Knights of the Fallen, for Star Wars: The Old Republic, from the vanilla section of the game all the way up to about level 50 or so. And then, when you're doing the add-on sections, through the Revan storyline or going to Zeost, or when you're hitting these areas, it's really the Jedi Knight storyline that feels the most closely tied to it, because his original storyline dealt so much with dealing with the dark side of the Force and the Emperor as a character. The other storylines are still pretty good. As you move through these chapters for the new story, there's going to be elements of the different chapters that speak more towards one class or another. For instance, when you get to Profit and Plunder, which is chapter 13, I want to say, 13 or 14, then the Sith Warrior Companion Vet comes back into the picture, and the Bounty Hunter Companion Galt comes into the picture, and you're basically playing a heist. And so if you're either a Sith Warrior or a Bounty Hunter, then you have a deeper connection to that chapter of the story. However, most of this story deals with these characters of the Emperor, the new Empire of Zakul, and using the Force. The Force is a huge part of it, and so I definitely feel like Force-based characters get kind of a leg up here in feeling like they're a little bit more canon. They have a little bit more of a reason to be in these positions than some of the other storylines. It's not to say the other ones won't be good, but I definitely got to tell you that sometimes my gunslinger just feels a little out of place in some of these chapters, where people are doing all this crazy stuff with the Force, or there's a lightsaber battle between you and another character, and you're just basically like dodging his blows and trying to block his saber with a gun or something. It just doesn't quite feel right. So that's why I'm doing this part of the story with the Jedi Knight. Alright, so here we have my ship coming in, and we're going to start up with chapter 1, The Hunt. Now, here's what you can expect. There's a lot of low-level bad guys here. The lowest level bad guy in Star Wars: The Old Republic is called a weak type opponent. The next grade up has a silver star next to their name, and they're called a strong type opponent.
But we should
and this is basically what you're going to be seeing for most of this chapter.
Fuel, food, and fun coming right up. Just be sure to remember whose ship we're on. Truce doesn't mean we can't keep our eyes open.
Love that woman. If you ever wondered why I play so many Jedi Knights, That is the reason right there.
Master Jedi.
Love that
Captain.
chick.
Darth Maul awaits you on the bridge. I trust you remember the way.
Has Mar really found the Sith Emperor
Also,
all the
for
way
this
out
run, I'm going to be running
I wouldn't
primarily
presume to
light
speak
side.
for Lord
My
Maul,
Jedi Knight has been
but
a
I've
light
never
side
known
character
him
for
to
most of this,
exaggerate.
and so I'm just going to keep in
Welcome
character with what decisions he would normally make. I'm going to go ahead and skip the new player tutorial, and I have a whole video series on that, by the way, guys. So if you feel like, man, I just want to get my good moves and start rolling on this, go ahead and exit out of that tutorial. I have some videos on how to show you how and get set up on your hotbars. We're going to head over here to the right where the glowing pink dot is, and that's where Darth Mar is. Now, right before I click on him, I'll just give you a little bit of background on Darth Mar. If you're new to the game, as you play through the original storyline and you defeat the Emperor as the Jedi Knight in the Jedi storyline, then other factions within the Sith Empire try to rise to power, and the lead guy is Darth Mar. And I actually like Darth Mar quite a bit, even as a light side character who works with him, because Darth Mar, unlike many of the other Sith, is minded towards the survival of the entire Sith Empire. So in a lot of ways, I really respect him. Even on my light side characters, I think Darth Mar, you know, even though he is a dark side character, has quite admirable qualities to him.
I received your message.
You know, also I like the visual
And now
here
that
of
I'm
my
here,
character being so blue and him being
sense
so
it
red.
too.
I dig it.
We grow closer
Visually
every
speaking.
moment. Our former emperor is out there.
What will we do when we find him? We still don't know how to destroy him.
If he has taken on a physical form, we will destroy it. That should at least weaken him significantly. As you well know, if he remains incorporeal, at least
The as you
we
well
will
know
where
is
to strike.
specifically for the Jedi
Even
Knight
if we
because he
don't know
destroyed
how.
the Emperor's
Why travel
previous
so far?
host body.
Why consume every living thing on Zyos, then turn and flee into the depths of wild space?
For all his shows of power, he must have a weakness, or he wouldn't have stopped with Zyos.
That would be reassuring, wouldn't it? If we do locate him, I believe I can press the Dark Council into line. But what of the Republic? The cooperation we've received has been beneficial, but limited, and apparently unofficial. Will your government help destroy this threat?
I can't speak for the Supreme Chancellor, but I'm certain the Jedi will not let this danger go unchecked.
My lord, sensor contact, 15 clicks, small, no life form readings, some kind of probe.
I have the music turned way down, by the way, guys. So I might turn that back up in the, in just a
Readings
minute
are
or the
identical
later
to scans
chapters.
from the unknown force that attacked Korriban.
Raise shields! Pursue and destroy!
Why would someone send a probe out this far? Some kind of survey?
We can find out from the wreckage.
Look at this. That's the real power of the Sukulian Empire right there, is this incredible fleet. I kind of dig the precision that they show that this fleet has with the exact grid line shape and, just everything has a really cold perfection to it.
All decks, report hostile forces.
I'll sweep for borders. You get us out of here.
Set deflectors to double aft. Divert weapon power to the engines.
Okay, let's get rolling. So let's talk enemy types. First up, we're going to have a few weak type bad guys. We're going to have maybe 2, maybe 3 strong type opponents. And then at the end of this mission, we're going to have our very first gold type opponent. We're going to follow our mini-map over here to where we see the pink circle. Alright. Let's get smashing.
The shield generator is under attack. Defend
You
it.
can skip that group over there and just run through the corridor. Alright, first strong type bad guy. Has a bit more health than the weak type, also has a bit more armor. Also, you can expect sometimes that they have special moves, like stuns. So it's not always a bad idea to save a couple stuns on your own hotbar in case you run into a strong type bad guy. For the most part, they die pretty quick, but if they come in a pack, another group of guys, then you may have to use a little bit more special tactics and step out of that bad stuff. There we go.
Destroy them.
Also, for this level, if you have chosen or have, because the game gave it to you, the crew skill for scavenging, you can scavenge these bots. just like this. All you got to do is hover over the dead opponent and right-click on it.
Don't go that way. Blasted droids have the run of the place.
Okay, and if you watch my setup video for the Jedi Knight and the hotbars, I also talked about utility skills. And one of the skills I pick is just so that I can keep chain pulling like this. Every time I come out of combat, these two moves, Force Leap and Saber Throw, come and refresh so I can use them right away. It's amazing how bad things have gotten on the ship so fast.
Get this blast door shut. That shield won't hold forever.
Alright, so this part of the story is introducing to light side and dark side choices, and they're being represented here by a Sith trooper and a Republic trooper, and a choice you have to make about saving lives on the other side of the store. Now, this also sets up gameplay. If you've never played this game before, understand that sometimes when you make a light side choice or a dark side choice, it may change your mission parameters a little bit. In this particular case, if I make the light side choice to save those soldiers, I go through the red door, I kill all the enemies there, and I save the soldiers. If I make the dark side choice to leave them, I just push straight ahead on the mission. Now, in the short term, that may feel like the faster and easier way to go, but as these chapters progress, those dark side choices and light side choices have bigger and bigger consequences. So much so that you may even have some of your companions' lives at stake by the time you make those choices. So keep that in the back of your brain. It may seem arbitrary, but you know, contextualize what decision you're making, and you won't ever be disappointed. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and make the light side choice to take the guys on the opposite side of the shield. Also, that way you can see a little bit more of the fighting for this level.
We'll cover the exit and make sure no stragglers sneak out past you.
Okay, for this particular fight, we're going to mix it up a little bit. We have a few weak type bad guys and one strong type bad guy all here in the center. The typical strategy is to go ahead and take out the weak types first, and that way the damage that they do is taken out of the equation, and then I can focus in on the strong type. Also, I do recommend that if you have unlocked everything on your hotbar, just know that that cast bar he did, I was completely able to interrupt him using Force Kick. I'm not actually sure if that's available if you're doing the regular tutorial mode, so keep that in mind. Alright, we're going to finish this cutscene.
You did it! I've never seen anything like that.
Regroup at the bridge. We can't lose control
Magically,
of the
I
ship.
somehow became taller than these guys in this cutscene. I don't know how. Before this, I was at eye line with them, and now I come back and I'm like a few inches taller. Yeah, it's kind of creepy. Crazy. Alright, here we go. More weak type bad guys. By the way, in the Jedi Knight rotation, typically you try to get some of your burns out first and then use Vigilant Thrust, but these guys are so weak, sometimes one Vigilant Thrust will be enough to take them out. So you may see me doing that early instead of waiting to try to spread some dots. Alright, here we have another strong type bad guy coming out. Get used to this idea that guys may just jump in onto the screen. These Sky Troopers throughout all of these chapters, just that they do that all the time. There's that interrupt again.
These have breached the
And he's
starboard
toast.
compartment. Stop their backs.
Alright. You may not ever see me do perfect rotations on this character. Sometimes I just do the quick and dirty for the video's sake. So if there's somebody out there going like, that's not the Jedi Guardian rotation, well,
I'll be there
probably
right away.
not in this particular case. Sometimes I'm just, for the sake of the video, putting things out of rotation because sometimes it might be a little quicker. You know, or I'm just lazy. Collect the trash. I'm kind of a loot fiend. I like to make sure I get all the loot. So this is what I'm talking about with chaining groups together. You can see as I'm getting these guys, I can literally just go from pole to pole. For newcomers to MMOs entirely, a pull just means that there's a group of enemies that I'm attacking and I'm grabbing that entire group into combat. All right, here we go. Another strong type bad guy. This guy will rush in at you, so he will close the gap from where he's standing to me as soon as I toss out my saber throw. So just be aware of that when you're playing against him. There he goes. All right, gonna interrupt that. He's already dead. Get in a blade dance or anything. All right, so your objective was to get over to these consoles here. Either one is fine. I'm gonna choose the one on the right, and this is to help free my shipmates. Cool little battle scene outside. There's my ship. Kind of like that J.J. Abrams style camera zoom in that they did right there. They tried a lot more things cinematically in these chapters than they did in the original vanilla game, so enjoy.
But it's not looking good out here.
If you see an opening to escape, take it. Someone has to make it back to the Republic.
We can't just leave you behind.
Oh, believe me, man. If I could keep her through this, I would. I love Kira Carson.
But you'd better be right behind us. May the Force be with you, Master.
So this is the story reason of why you no longer have access to your companions. One of the story reasons is you do tell them to leave at this part of the chapter, and as this chapter and the following ones progress, you find out just how much time and space has been put between you and your old crew. It also puts you in a position to have to learn about your new crew members for this. They do that on purpose to try to unify the storylines, and that way they can focus in on just a bunch of brand new characters. There's been a major complaint to BioWare that some people felt like they worked really hard to earn up all these characters and get all this affection and invest, and then all of a sudden BioWare took it all away and then made them have to work for getting them all back again. I actually think that's a pretty legitimate complaint. I really miss Kira Carson, and she has yet to show up in the new chapters to recruit. Thankfully, there is a terminal where I can just grab her, but I miss seeing her in the story, you know. And my Jedi Knight did romance her. He went off the reservation from the light side to have her as his girlfriend and pledged to make her his wife. So, you know, she's my lady. I miss her. I like having her at my side when I play as my Jedi Guardian. You know, and it kind of hurts a little bit when you're told by BioWare, it's like, nope, you can't have her. You got to deal with maybe these other characters you don't like, or these Imperial characters maybe you don't like, but now they're all part of your crew, and you're just kind of waiting to get back the one that you really missed.
The bridge is secure for now, but without main power, we'll be destroyed in seconds.
Let's not waste any time then.
Alright, so this is now going to introduce you to the companion mechanic. I have now gotten Darth Mar as a companion temporarily. He's set by default in heel stance, which most companions will be. I'm going to go ahead and change him, though, over to damage. I'm not really getting too hurt too bad, and I know what's coming up next, so I feel comfortable with that. But by all means, if you're new to the game, keep him in heel stance. Let him heal you, and you can work on your fighting, yeah, and get better at that on these next few pulls, and just let him heal you through it. And that way, you know, you get some practice in. You're going to get a lot of chances to fight in this game, but there's very few times in the game where the stakes are as low as this. Alright, so over here to the left, I've got now 3 weak-type bad guys. I also have Mar hotkey to attack on command, so if I just push my V key, he'll just jump right into battle. Interesting to note that different companions, if they're ranged or if they're melee, have different moves. Some of the ranged companions will, when you send them to attack, will immediately stun your opponents, which is kind of cool and kind of handy. Some will jump in, you know, into the thick of things and kind of draw a lot of attention to themselves. You know, play around with it, but usually it kind of breaks down to melee versus, you know, ranged. Yeah, Darth Maul's a beast. Plus, I kind of like the idea of DPSing side by side by Darth Mar, while Jedi and a Sith working hand in hand. This is cool. Alright, so down here, we have our end boss for this particular level. Alright, this is BD-148, and he is an elite-type bad guy. Elites have these gold stars next to their name, and there's only one other higher rank than that, which is called a champion level bad guy. And you will see one of those in the future chapter, and I'll show you what that looks like then. Elites, just like Strongs are to weak types, elites have more armor, more health, and more moves and abilities to kind of mess with you a little bit. So when you do see elites, they're not impossible to kill. Many of them, they just take a little longer to die, really, than your weak and strong type bad guys. But do be aware that they do sometimes have some special tricks that they can use on you. Grappling pulls and stuns, you know, just like the strong types, but now with a little bit more danger, and they usually hit quite a bit harder. I'm just going to go ahead and start this fight up. I'm going to start by using Saber Throw, and that way my Force Sleeve can interrupt his cast. I'm going to interrupt Ion Cell, which is doing some tanky stuff, get out of his frontal cone AoE, overhead smash, plasma, and then redo Blade Dance. He's done. That's all there was to it. And again, if you are a scavenger, you can go ahead and scavenge him with your companion. If you have an active companion out, then it will be your companion that goes to go ahead and scavenge or, you know, whatever is on the ground. So just be aware of that. Now, once I click this console, there's going to be a cutscene, a light side, dark side choice, and then that will pretty much be the end of this chapter. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough of the action of the first chapter of Knights of the Fallen Empire, along with the commentary I've given. And I'll go ahead and leave some space in the comments below. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them down there. I'll try to answer them. If you like these videos and what we're doing here, please like and subscribe. I'm going to go and click this, and we'll just watch this last cutscene. Before I do, I'm going to turn my sound for my music volume just up a little bit so we can hear some of the music that's placed in the background.
The power core is strained to the breaking point. We can recharge the shields, but they still won't last long.
The hyperdrive has been completely burnt out.
Enemies on the bridge. Repeat, enemies on the...
There are rudimentary backup controls here, but the enemy ships have us surrounded. We have few options left.
Then we save as many lives as we can.
Attention. Shields are failing, and the enemy has us surrounded. Evacuate now while you still can.
I gotta admit, I do kind of like the dark side option here. If you choose the dark side option, you choose to ram your ship into the Eternal Empire ships, and that's pretty awesome. Very cool shot. Reminds me a lot of A New Hope, where you have, you know, R2 droids coming down to the pod, looking at the damage from the outside of the ship. It's a subtle way that I think BioWare tries to kind of pull you back in and say, like, it's Star Wars! You could be excited about this! Okay. So now we're going to have our story introduction to our Zakuulian characters. If you look down below, you can see the planet with these... I just love the look of those spires from Zakuul, where they've built towers so high they reach out above the atmosphere and into space. That's some pretty impressive engineering. I'm kind of curious to see what happens with the entire Zakuulian Empire by the end of this story. It's just not something you hear about in Star Wars canon, and if you don't know this already, Star Wars The Old Republic happens a few thousand years before what we see in A New Hope. So, you know, like, to not hear about it then, it makes me wonder.
I trust you can walk.
I'm going to be stoic here.
Silence is perfectly acceptable, but it will not help.
So, if you watch the original full motion video trailers, this is Arkin. He and his brother Thexan were the two primary lead figures in that trailer, seeing the two of them leading the Zakuulian forces against both the Sith and the Republic. And at the end of that trailer, we saw him take his brother's life. Not on purpose, by accident, but it definitely has a deep impact on him.
What empire have we entered?
The Eternal Empire. Zakuul.
You can also tell that his character modeling was done later in the game. If you compare his face to my Jedi Knights, you can just see a lot more texture.
We didn't invade anything. We were looking for someone.
In an armed warship.
We weren't looking for a friend.
What do you hope to achieve by taking us prisoner?
I have questions. You will provide the answers.
We will tell you nothing.
You won't have to speak to give me the answers I need.
Alright. Also, pay attention. These guards that are walking us down this hall in black here, they're called Exarchs. And if you decide to do the Star Fortress missions later, those are the end bosses for the Star Fortresses. So that armor that they're wearing is something that you can attain in the game. Except you get like a little bit more of a gold version of it. Looks a little bit better than what you're seeing here. And lining this hall, those are Zakulian Knights, force-using guards for the Zakulian Empire.
Fascinating reading. You Jedi are quite influential. To think that you alone could alter the tide of a war at that scale. Impressive.
I sense that you also have a strong connection to the Force.
I suspect
a lightsaber on his hip was kind of a giveaway too.
Prince Arkan?
Heskel. Still waiting for the catastrophe that you and your scions foretold.
You may close
also,
your
if you like the
ears
armor
to
that
the
Scion
prince,
is wearing, that's something you can actually
but they
purchase
cannot
later
be
in the game
silenced.
once you get to Chapter 10. So if you do like the look of it and think you'd like to dress like that, that armor you can get.
Elsewhere, Heskel. You are not needed here.
Your followers don't seem to be as sure of your invincibility as you are.
Unimportant relics with unfounded beliefs. Don't be swayed by their nonsense.
Is this why you brought us? To hear you bicker with soothsayers?
Come on.
I love Darth Maul.
You're taking us to your master.
I'm taking you to my father, Valkorion, the immortal Emperor of Zakul.
An emperor. Just what we were searching for.
You will not find what you wanted here.
Alright, now I'll let you know, you guys actually do not have to keep pace with these guards that are walking. If you want to speed up the walk down this hallway, you can just walk past these guys. The cutscene will activate once you hit the door. But before you do, you may want to take a look around at some of the cool surroundings. It's pretty neat to take a look outside and just see what Zakul is all about. It's also, we're in a hallway above, you know, the atmosphere, so it's kind of neat to just kind of look down and look around. And also take a look up at where the Imperial throne room is, that gigantic dome this high up in space. Just not something you see every day. It's one of the design elements I kind of like about, you know, Knights of the Fallen Empire. And if you're wondering what I mentioned about that Scion armor, that mask plate that you saw, that's part of the armor set too. So if you play like a dark side Force user and you have some black dye modules that you want to use in a piece of armor, that's a pretty butch set to use it in. I have one of those for my Sork.
His glorious majesty, immortal master and protector of Zakul, Emperor Valkorion.
I love how when he says that there's almost a tone of sarcasm.
A new name. A new face. These are not enough to hide from us.
The Sith Emperor. Your presence is unmistakable.
Oh, I think a mistake has been made. But by whom?
Do these people have any idea who you really are? The kinds of things you're capable of?
Do you?
Your constant silence across our history. This was your distraction?
This was my focus. Everything else, a means to an end. You claim to have come all this way to find me. Here I am. What do you want?
I want you to answer for your crimes. The destruction of Ziost, decades of war between the Republic and the Empire. You caused it all.
The fates of your core worlds and the people on them are of no concern to me. You say you know me. If that is true, then you know the depths of my power. Whatever you hoped to achieve here, you know deep inside that you cannot succeed. But you do not have to stand against me. Instead, you can kneel.
I will never again kneel to you.
That's right. You tell him, Darth Mar.
You would sooner die than acknowledge my superiority.
It is you who fears death, Valkorion. I do not. I will not kneel.
That had to hurt.
Clear the room! Everyone out!
This character who just made the entrance, Valen, is one of the only characters I actually don't like in this expansion, only because her accent is ridiculously different than everybody else. There's a lot of things. We'll go over that more in a bit, but for now, let's continue with the story.
Mar actually gave your people real leadership. More than you ever did for them.
He was narrow-minded, bound by irrelevant ancient dogma. But I think you are different. In all my centuries, you alone have merited my full attention. You leave your mark upon the galaxy wherever you act, just as I do. Look around you. Zakul is poised to become the greatest civilization.
I will say that line about you've merited my full attention fits better with the Jedi Knight than it does with most of the other classes.
All of my previous works, to span eternity. The Eternal Throne commands a fleet more vast than any ever built. It has the power to reshape the galaxy into any image that I choose. That we choose. I will share all of this with you, if you will only kneel.
Share? You don't share anything. You enslave. You devour. I will never be a part of that.
So be it.
You came here to defeat him. This is your chance.
First your brother, now your father.
Does my ambition truly surprise you?
You do not have ambition, only jealousy. That is why you fail.
This is for all of the people you forced to suffer and die.
So be it.
Apparently my Jedi was a little on the dark side there, stabbing him in the back. But if you've played the game up through this point, through the normal leveling process, and you did the Ziost part of the expansion, then you know that Valkorion, that might have been the only shot you would ever get to take him out. The guy's insanely powerful. There's actually even a moment after the Revan expansion on the planet Ziost where, as a ghost, Valkorion destroys all life on the entire planet.
The Outlander has
and it's like, how do you
our
fight
Emperor.
that? And so
Take
one of the
him
things
away.
I like about this chapter is it kind of returns Valkorion to a corporeal form that actually could be attacked and could be killed. and we start seeing a little bit more of a human motivation behind the things that he has done up to this point. It starts explaining his character a little bit better. Previously, up to this point, I was just like, he's this big bad that just keeps getting bigger and badder and more unable to be defeated. And that makes for some really terrible storytelling. At some point, you just cross a line where it's like, how our heroes could ever defeat this? And that was kind of like one of the big problems in Mass Effect 3. You knew the Reapers were going to be this gigantic problem. How do we really stop them? And at some point, the Reapers are such a big threat that you can't really find the right and appropriate solution that feels like it would fit in the story, that they really defeated something that was this dangerous and this bad. And that's kind of what had happened to the Emperor. So at some point, storytelling-wise, if you make your big bad too big, you have to scale him back down a little bit.
As your new Emperor, I can promise you this. Zakuul's enemies will face the full power of the Eternal Throne. They will answer for their war-mongering ways. And every last one of the core worlds will burn.
No, not the carbonite. Okay, so that was the end of chapter 1. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and kind of got a sneak peek of what the storyline looks like. In my comments area, I'll write down exactly what kind of enemies we fought for that chapter so you can prep ahead. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed my videos, enjoyed the commentaries, go ahead and like and subscribe to this page, and that'll let me know that you want to see more.